Hey friends, I wrote recently about one of the questions that I've been really enjoying asking my friends when I'm with them in one-on-one conversations or small groups, which is, what are your top 3 problems right now? And of course, one problem with this question is that it can be overly restrictive. I don't really care if people say 3 or 4 or 5 or 2 problems, but the point is, what are your top problems right now? And 3 is a nice number. It's easy to focus on, helps you to consider what to prioritize. um, and I love asking this socially. I love asking my friends because I care about them. I love hearing about their problems, and I love sharing them. And the reason that I love this is it's actually very possible that just the process of thinking about what your problems are, prioritizing them, mentioning them to someone else, and having them hear that, like any of those steps can lead to those problems being solved. So I don't know, I've been asking this for a few weeks of different people that I've been meeting with, different friends I've been seeing in person, online, and already several of my own problems have been solved or made significant progress on. And I've also been able to help other friends, or them saying what their problem was led them to take new actions. It just kind of moves things along. And often we can be stuck for weeks and months on a specific problem when we don't really have to be. And it becomes kind of a boring problem where it's like, oh, this one's familiar. Yeah, it's that one still. I'm still working on that. And often we can just get help from our friends, and they're like, well, have you tried this? And they say something we didn't know about or hadn't considered before, or they have a new idea. And, if we mention one of our top problems to several people, odds are 1 out of 5 people is going to have something that's valuable for us. Even if it's not a full solution, it might be a clue or a new way of seeing things. That might not happen. It's certainly possible that our problems are intractable, but if you have 3 problems, one of them might get moved along. And sometimes one of our top problems is like a blocker for another problem, where we can't solve one of them until we solve another problem. And that may not be obvious, actually. It might be obvious, but it might not be. And yeah, this is a very specific way of doing what you might call unblocking. And I learned about this from the Fractal crew, especially Andrew and Priya and Tyler, and also from Visa, who talks about it. And basically, unblocking is the frame, hey, I have problems, you have problems, everybody's got problems, we always have problems, but we can remove those obstacles. We can unblock each other by helping each other to solve problems that are facing us and then move on to new problems. And actually, from the perspective of Peace Pilgrim and, of course, other teachings, problems are good. They're part of life. They're how we learn and grow. But we also don't want to get stuck on the same problems. I'm thinking about video games, and, video games often have like puzzles in them, or, bosses we need to defeat. And a fun video game is one not that has no challenges, but also isn't too challenging, right? And this is one of the conditions of flow, right? Is that there's some challenge, but it's not too challenging. There's some ease, but it's not too easy. And so we want our life to feel like that. And if a problem has just been too hard, or we've been working on it too long, then we can get help from our friends and unblock each other. And Visa actually defines a scene as friends who unblock each other at, very high rates of speed. I forget the exact words he used, but a scene is a group of people who unblock each other at a really fast rate. And we can actually do that for each other. And I think the Fractal people are terrific at this. They're so good at this. And if you spend time with them, if you talk to them, you get a sense of why. Because they have this deep belief, problems are soluble and you can solve them today, right? A lot of people will say that problems are soluble. This is an idea that I first learned about from the Deutsch people, the critical rationalists, through my friend Luli, and that's been such a helpful frame. And then there's this sense of, like intensity and urgency and not hesitating that comes from the Fractal crew of, yeah, what are your problems? Let's solve them today. Let's get to new problems. And bigger problems. And yeah, I love that. It's such a good, nourishing feeling for me. I feel really supported by it, by being around friends who want to help me solve my problems. I feel excited by helping my friends to solve their problems. Uh, and we, as I always like to say, we flourish together, right? If something improves in my life and it helps my friends as well, if something improves with my friends, that it helps me as well, we flourish together. What benefits you benefits me. What benefits any of us benefits all of us. That's not necessarily strictly literally true in all cases, but the way that I like to play the game, the way I like to live my life, and the way I choose friends who feel this way, we can play games that are actually good for everyone, that are what the liminal web people might call omni-win, right? The game B people, it's like, oh, this is an omni-win solution to a problem where it's good for everyone involved and also everyone. It's not just win-win, but actually omni-win. Everyone wins. I like to live my life that way. I like to play with people who live their life that way. So if you're playing with other players who are playing that way, then unblocking each other is good for everybody. And yeah, some problems really benefit from having help from your friends, and really help things to move, not just for yourself, but for other people as well. We can kind of trade best practices and hear about what's worked for one person and spread that information quickly. And I think that's part of why Fractal has flourished so well, because it's a really densely connected group of people who are orienting in this way, where they're unblocking each other and helping them to flourish in their lives. And that's a really good thing. I've loved what I've seen out of that community. I'm really excited about their new cohort program where they're helping other cities to start fractals of their own. I think that's really good for the world. I think it's honestly a world historic moment that they're doing that. Yeah, one other thing I'll mention that has helped me to focus on unblocking is to have a recurring call with a friend where we unblock each other. And so I've done this with one friend before for, a year or so, where we'd meet once a month, I think, and it would be an hour and a half call, and we'd spend the first 10 minutes checking in, and then we'd spend roughly 45 minutes unblocking one of us. One of us would bring a problem that we were facing and ask for support or guidance or advice, or just spend time working on that problem. And then we'd switch and unblock the other person. And so once a month, we were getting some really quality attention from someone who was capable, that we respected, that we felt supported by. And if you do that regularly, recurringly, if you unblock one of your biggest problems every month, then you're going to accelerate very quickly, because other things will move and you're just going to be solving problems at higher and higher levels, which is good. This is, again, coming back to Peace Program. She says, first you work on individual problems, and you might even do small problems, and then you grow up, you sort of like move on to bigger and bigger problems, and eventually you kind of solve all of your own individual problems, and then you can grow through doing collective problems. And she says that she wouldn't wish on anyone a life without problems, because problems are how you grow spiritually. So that's almost the work that we're here to do, as far as I'm concerned. But we also don't want to get stuck on a specific problem, and we don't want to get bored by a problem, or lose willpower because of a specific problem that's just plaguing us. And that's what friends are for, because we can help each other solve our problems. So this metaphor of unblocking has been so important to me. And one way that I've done that for friends and received support in that from friends has been just talking about what our top 3 problems are, sort of conversationally, and also having dedicated time to unblocking each other. And I'm thinking about that Alec Baldwin meme, "Always Be Closing," from Glengarry Glen Ross, which I love. And similarly, we should just always be unblocking each other. I think the Fractal crew is really good at doing this. If you have the chance, the good fortune to be in the New York area, you can go check them out and encounter that sort of spirit from them. You can also get a sense of it from my podcasts. I've had a number of the fractal people on my podcast, and I know that I asked Priya and Andrew and Tyler about this and what their experience of unblocking was and why they do that and what it means to them. So yeah, go forth, unblock your friends, talk about your biggest problems, know what your problems are, and ask for your friends to help you solve them and also help your friends in that way. Okay, take care, friends.